In 2012, I got the opportunity to work creatively with some of the bravest women in the world to highlight the ongoing struggle for gender equality. It started when I read a story about a woman, Kamila Sidiqi, living in Afghanistan under the Taliban regime in the 1990s. In 1996, when the Taliban took over, women's rights were severely restricted, virtually overnight. There was a complete ban on women working, a complete ban on women and girls attending school. There was a ban on women talking to shopkeepers or travelling unaccompanied. Women were whipped and beaten for not wearing a burqa or for talking to any man that wasn't their father, brother, or husband. They were banned from laughing loudly, gathering for festive occasions, or having any presence on radio or television. Despite these extraordinary circumstances, Kamila Sidiqi, housebound with her sisters, taught herself how to be a seamstress. She opened a tailoring school in her house, and she taught women how to sew, providing employment for nearly 100 women in her community during this time. She did this under dangerous, potentially life-threatening circumstances, and she did this without attracting the attention of the Taliban. In 2001, when the Taliban were ousted from power, we've seen in the years that have followed Afghanistan attempting to rebuild a thriving society. After the fall of the Taliban, Kamila Sidiqi's story also emerged as a New York Times bestseller, The Dressmaker of Khair Khana. And when I read this book, I was inspired to respond as a musician. I'm the vocalist and lyricist for an indie-tronica duo called Taipei Teahouse. Kamila's story was the catalyst for me to write a song that had come from a concept that had been intriguing me and had formed during my experiences of the Christchurch earthquakes in 2011. I called the song Beautiful Beast, referring to the irony of how beastly environments, whether they're natural or cultural, can be the catalyst and context for beautiful things to emerge. I sent Kamila the song, and I thanked her for her inspiration, her determination, and for her courage to push the boundaries. There was an email in my inbox the very next day from Kamila, and she said, "Thank you so much for sharing the beautiful song. I really loved it. The lyrics were powerful and moving, and it touched a note with me." We continued to correspond and talk about ways we could do more. Kamila introduced me to filmmaker Roya Sadat, also based in Kabul, a fiercely talented and inspirational woman fighting for the rights of women and children through the power of film. We decided to make a music video for the song. This would be the very first music video collaboration between New Zealand and Afghanistan. So here we were, three women, two vastly different contexts, embarking on a project underpinned by the things we had in common. We were all passionate about women's rights and gender equality. We were all passionate about the power of innovation and the arts to create social change. We were all entrepreneurs. We were all mothers, juggling our professional and domestic responsibilities. And something else we had in common, we were all feminists. We believed that men and women should have equal rights, opportunities, and representation. For the next 2.5 years, we would work together on what would be called the Beautiful Beast Project, a cross-cultural collaboration between Christchurch-based Taipei Teahouse and Roya Film House based in Afghanistan. It was written, directed, and shot entirely in Afghanistan under dangerous, sometimes politically unstable circumstances. The funds were raised by a combined effort of New Zealanders throughout the country, and it was achieved by the collective efforts and beliefs of men and women from both countries. The music video identifies the specific obstacles that make women's achievements and accomplishments more difficult to attain than men. These obstacles don't just impact Afghani women, these obstacles impact New Zealand women. They impact, to some degree, any woman, no matter where we live. These obstacles are universal. The obstacle of motherhood and family responsibilities, the obstacle of pay inequity, poverty, access to education, negative stereotypes perpetuated by the media, fear of violence, but also sometimes the fear to even compete with men, and possibly most importantly, the obstacle of a dominant ideology of patriarchy that leads to the underrepresentation of women in leadership roles across the political and economic spectrum. Addressing these roles will require each of us working in our own way to achieve the ultimate ideal, a society in which women have fully equal representation and status as men. Are we all brave enough to see what happens if we push the existing boundaries? Gender diversity, particularly in leadership, has become an international priority. We need to see more business owners and leaders appointing women to leadership roles, decision-making roles. Politicians need to continue to pass legislation ensuring the equal rights of women, and this legislation needs to be enforced throughout society. Women need to stand up for themselves and ask for what they deserve. Yeah. And men and women alike need to address the unconscious biases that perpetuate this inequality. We all have our part to play. My part is the creative response I'm here to share with you today. A cross-cultural music video collaboration between New Zealand and Afghanistan. Now, while there's no nudity, profanity, or sexually explicit scenes, after its launch in 2015, it was forced to be removed from public viewing in Afghanistan because of some of its content being deemed too offensive. This piece of film pushed the boundaries, and Roya Sadat had to work hard to ensure that it remained unaltered, and early in 2016, it was again launched and remained for public viewing. Globally, we may have a long way to go, but as you watch this, consider the immense power that women hold. Despite the obstacles, the fear, the oppression, arguably because of it, amazing, courageous, innovative, creative women will continue to rise, will continue to push boundaries and lead us. Enjoy.
Your mountains, your blockades, your terror and your hate, ironically create potent heroine. You shamelessly blast your way again and again, and imitate a blind and simple mind. What's a beautiful beast underneath?